You mentioned cortisol. I think cortisol is a big one
Yeah.
that people talk about with grounding. I think cortisol for me is very misunderstood by the average person. I think, and grounding, the research behind it helps drive home what it actually is. So people think cortisol is bad straight up. They just think stress hormone, stress is bad. But in reality, it's probably one of the most important hormones in our body. It's just the fact that it's, dysregulated, like the rhythm of it is off. And of course that coincides with melatonin. So these studies have shown that, right, like grounding regulates the cortisol production. And I'm curious as to why you think that is and why grounding is beneficial to like our circadian rhythm overall. Because I have my ideas, and I'm curious what you think, or you want to add more color to that, how grounding and earthing being connected is beneficial for circadian rhythm and also just regulating stress hormones.
Yeah, grounding has definitely been shown to regulate not only cortisol but melatonin production. So the body, it releases cortisol in a pretty typical pattern throughout the day. It's highest in the morning, which makes sense. You want to be alert around the time you're waking up, and then it diminishes as the day ends, and that's when you want to be sleeping. And so they look at these circadian cortisol secretions in people that are grounded. So in the pre-experiment, if you look at a graph, their cortisol secretions are just all over the place. And then after they ground I think it's like a few months, you'll see the standard kind of rise in the morning. It just it synchronizes back to how it's supposed to be. But yeah, so cortisol, I think it's a steroid hormone. It's a glucocorticoid. It's regulated by the HPA axis. And it's actually it acts as anti-inflammatory at low levels. But in high levels, it can be very pro-inflammatory. But a part of your circadian rhythm is just having these cortisol secretions in line with how they're supposed to be. That allows your body to wake up when it's supposed to and go to sleep when it's supposed to. And a lot of people, when they get jet lag or something like that those circadian cortisol secretions are just out of whack, and they're not synced up with the Earth's natural geomagnetic electric field. And so that's why they always tell you to ground wherever you go. You get off a long flight, you're in a different time zone. That's part of that. That's playing into that. And on top of that, melatonin, which is released by the pineal gland, there's really, really cool effects of melatonin. It's very anti-inflammatory. It's anti-cancer, anti-carcinogenic. But what they found as far as the melatonin goes too, there was like a 20% improvement in the production of melatonin in people that ground. And not a lot of people know that because that's in an unpublished study. So I don't like to reference it too much. I have it in the book, but when I was doing my research, it was unpublished. I don't know if it was just like a bad study, but I did find the results of it hidden somewhere. So grounding certainly regulates cortisol and melatonin secretion. The melatonin is not as concrete, but to me, it would make sense. So.
Yeah, I was just going to say, kind of what you just said that I want to spike out is the connection to the Earth's geomagnetic field is really the key point there, because it's an input signal, right? Like we talk about light. Light is an input signal that drives biology. So is the Earth's, inherent electromagnetic field. And if we are connected to the Earth, we will be in rhythm with our natural biological cycles. And that's the takeaway. I don't need a study to tell me that like grounding is going to improve like melatonin cortisol rhythms. Yeah. Well, I know if it improves cortisol rhythms, I can like make that connection that like it's going to improve melatonin rhythms too, because they're literally just the antithesis of each other. Mm-hmm. And that just coincides with, everything we talk about. It's like, just think of your body as an input, it's like a computer program, right? It's electromagnetic, and light is an input. The earth is an input. You want these signals. And yeah, if you just bop across the world to Europe, that's why grounding's so effective at reducing jet lag.